Hello everyone, bringing you a video today keeping up the Vietnam theme, and we're going to be looking at a US 2-quart canteen. This is one of the earlier bladder types with a film bladder inside a cover, the second pattern nylon cover, and that's what we're going to have a look at in the video now. So here we have it. This is one of two patterns of 2-quart collapsible canteen used by US forces during the Vietnam War. This is the first pattern of collapsible canteen and the second pattern cover that was developed for it. And of course the second pattern of canteen is the one people are probably most familiar with. It has the neck in one corner, it's made of the OD plastic, and it's collapsible as opposed to being a bladder really. And that was used right the way through with Alice and right the way through the Gulf War, and certainly into the modern day. It may well still be in use. I'm not actually certain on that. Obviously camelbacks and so forth have taken up the water carriage role from canteens in quite a big way. But I think the 2-quart canteen may still be in use, the later pattern of it. But this is the initial pattern, the bladder canteen. The canteen itself and the initial cover, the first pattern cover, the one that came into use before this, were essentially adaptations of an experimental design introduced at the end of the Second World War. And with increasing US involvement in Vietnam in the early 1960s, the increasing advisory role, there was a drive to develop further equipment for use in tropical environments, and the idea of a collapsible 2-quart canteen was reintroduced. Now the canteen reintroduced, as I say, is the one we're going to look at here, but the initial cover differed from this one a little bit in that it had a lifter dot fastener here, the neck wasn't exposed, it had its own shoulder strap and so forth, it lacked a pocket as we have here for the water sterilising tablets. So that pattern, the initial pattern of cover and this bladder canteen, were introduced circa 1963, standardised in 1963 after further experimentation. And then circa 1965, this second pattern of cover was introduced using the same bladder inside it. So the cover in this instance is modified in that you have access to the neck and the cap to drink from without having to remove or open up the top of the cover. So that's an advantage. And you also, as already mentioned, have the pocket here for a bottle of sterilising tablets. For when it was introduced, this is made of very modern materials, obviously made of nylon, which is something that will become increasingly common in load carrying equipment going forward. The pocket design would be carried over to the M1967, the second pattern of 2-quart canteen and its cover, and then Alice equipment, the canteen covers would include a pocket like this to carry water sterilising tablets, which was a good part of the design. So a developmental step in the production of load carrying equipment for the Army generally. This type of canteen, however, would of course die out and be replaced with the second pattern of 2-quart canteen, which had a very long service life, but an interesting part of sort of early war US equipment. So the nylon cover itself, as already mentioned, has the pocket here. We have a touch and close fastening for the flap here, which opens up, which has a hole in it there for the spout or neck of the canteen to poke through there, so you can still access it when it's in the cover. You can see there the touch and close shaped for the flap there. US stamped up here, you sometimes see it down on the body of the cover rather than up on the flap, but it's been stamped up on the flap in this instance, edged all around with nylon tape, and then you have reinforcement here at the corners with eyelets worked in. You also have drainage eyelets in the bottom there, as you can see. Flipping this over, you can see how this is designed to attach to equipment. You have a stiffening piece across the back here, so there's a piece of plastic in there to stiffen it, and then two pieces of thick nylon webbing sewn on here for the slide keepers to slot into. So you can carry this on the belt or you can clip it onto other parts of the equipment. However, of course, there's no provision to carry this separately, whereas the preceding design had its own separate shoulder strap. That wasn't designed to be carried on the belt, or not effectively anyway. The second pattern of 2-quart canteen, hopefully familiar to most people, and its cover, you can clip that to the belt, or it has D-rings to attach its own shoulder strap. So that was brought back into the later design. In this instance, there's no easy way of carrying this on its own. We have a stamp on the back here, cover, canteen, collapsible 2-quart capacity, as you see there, and then an MWC stock number there at the bottom. So that's the markings on the back of this. We'll open this up now and have a look at the bladder of the canteen itself. So we have the bladder of the canteen next to the cover here. As I say, this was the standardised type introduced in 1963. It's only the cover that was changed in 1965. The actual canteen itself remained basically unchanged from that which had been used with the earlier cover. So if we look at this, it's made of a thin, flexible, clear plastic, as you can see, heat sealed around the edges. And you can see the designation on the front here, Flotation Bladder Canteen, water collapsible 2-quart capacity, and then an MWC number there again. Flotation bladder, these can be filled with air for flotation purposes to give some buoyancy. That's another feature of the design, or that was certainly an intended feature of the design. The neck here and the cap are basically, well, the cap itself is basically an M1910 style cap with the depression in the top rather than a flat top, so the later M1910 cap, which was basically standard for Second War onwards of M1910 canteen production. So that's been retained here rather than anything more modern. You can see we initially have a couple of chain links there at the top, then a nylon cord linking this to a little securing lug down on the neck there. And it's a screw cap with a rubber seal in the top, so you've got a rubber disc pressed into there to provide a seal. And then in the neck of the canteen here, I can actually remove this. It should be, I believe, fixed in place, but this one's come unglued. There's a little filter, a little mesh filter. So this is to strain out any debris that you might pour into this that could puncture the canteen. It's kind of a final hope of saving this from being punctured. They were very easy to puncture, which is why one reason why the design was not persevered with, is that you need something tougher, which the second pattern of 2-quart canteen would provide, is something tougher and less easy to damage than this very flimsy form of bladder. So there we are. That's I say that little filter in there. That's basically a look at this canteen and the second pattern cover. It would be nice to find a first pattern cover, a US first pattern cover at some point. I do have the Australian copy in my collection, but it would be nice to find a US first pattern cover at some point, but they are not particularly easy to come by. Likewise, it would be nice to find an early example of the second version of the 2-quart canteen, the rubberized covers for those, but again, not easy to find. But it'd be nice to build up a bit of a collection to show the development of these 2-quart canteens. This is a very nice addition to the collection. I'm very happy to have it, and it will be a very useful item going forward for Vietnam War kit displays. So there it is. So I hope you found it interesting looking at this. Quite a useful piece of Vietnam War era kit to have, that we used obviously during the early years of the war through until the mid-war period. So they're quite a versatile bit of kit to have from that point of view. And I'm quite interested in my early war stuff as opposed to later war. That's my preference, sort of what I find more interesting, I suppose you could say, and it fits in nicely with that. And it's an interesting bit of kit to have in and of itself. As I say, I do hope you've found it interesting looking at this. If you have and you'd like to see more of this sort of thing, please make sure you subscribe down below and make sure you hit the little bell as well, the notification button. That will of course alert you when I upload future videos. That's everything for this video. So until next time, bye for now.